Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley Kay, and if you're a high quality woman looking for a high quality man, then you come to the right place. I wanted to do a part 2 video for how to attract your dream man. Because in that last video, I talked about a lot of stuff, and you know what? I couldn't even get through everything that I wanted to discuss. I wanted to get a little deeper on how to really sort out what your heart wants and what your head wants, because the clearer you can be on what both of these criteria are, the faster, the easier time you will have in attracting and manifesting your dream man into your life. In the last video, I talked about the importance of dating intentionally and not denying your natural inclinations to link up with another person. Now, that doesn't mean you need to date all the time. You need to be 100% switched on. You need to always flirt with guys. That's just not how the world works. And a lot of times we just don't have the energy to do that. So I recommend doing sprints. So where 1 month you're going to date, another month where you're going to take a break. So if you're always alternating dating with breaking, dating with breaking, then that gives you a much better chance of finding your ideal man. I want to go deeper into exactly how to tell what your dream man should look like, fulfilling the criteria of what your heart wants and what your head wants, because both are important. First, I'm going to talk about the heart because that's the easiest. The heart wants someone that makes you light up, someone that you're excited about, someone that gives you butterflies in the stomach, that when you meet a man, you instantly feel nervous, excited, you feel something. I want a guy I feel passionate about. Then you must put down on your piece of paper, down one column, the things that you know you're drawn to about a man in terms of, and these things are usually physical. If you were to say them out loud, they'll sound very shallow, but they're very important. For me, I like a man who is physically strong, who looks physically strong. You know, he has muscles. He looks like he works out. He looks like he can carry stuff. That gets me excited. You know, I think that's hot in a man. So you want to write that down. You know, I would write down man who looks strong, who is masculine looking. I also wanted a man who was taller than me in heels. So I didn't want to be wearing heels and feeling self-conscious because he's shorter than me and me feeling like, oh, this is a bit weird. I wanted a man who sounds kind of shallow, but I wanted to be proud to show him to my friends and family. I didn't want them to be like, they look kind of weird together, because I have tried that, and even though they were great guys, in the end it never worked out because I felt like I was trying to hide them, and I don't think that's fair. That's not fair on them, and that's what I personally wanted. And I don't think you should beat yourself up for wanting what you want. Like I said, your heart wants what it wants. If you know you're drawn to a certain type, a certain feeling about a man, then list it down, because if that's what you need to feel excited about a man, you should have that, because that's what you want and that's what you deserve. The second column, which is what your head wants, is another beast altogether. This one is usually the hardest list to write because most women are quick to tell you what they don't want, but when it comes to what they do want, they have a harder time vocalizing it or putting it into words exactly what they want. Our brains are like a computer. So we come prepackaged with what I call an ideal man blueprint. And when I say ideal, it's not actually ideal. It's what your brain is used to, is familiar with. It's just a point of reference. For example, I don't know if you're taller than me if I don't know how tall I am. That's what I mean by it's just a point of reference, a default point of reference. So every woman has pre-installed a default point of reference for their ideal man. That ideal man blueprint is made up of the most significant male figure in your life, which for most women, that's going to be your father. Now, if you're lucky and your father happens to be a very loving, warm, kind, great man who you respect, that's awesome. That means you're lucky because your already pre-installed system is already pretty good. So you'll be drawn to guys with similar qualities like your father. Or you may even find like a lot of guys don't measure up. Your father is so amazing that it's actually hard to date. But either way, your subconscious is always trying to find its way to that ideal man blueprint in another man. If you're not lucky and your father was abusive, absent, a drug addict, a narcissist, just a terrible person in general, and you didn't like anything about him really, and you felt like your childhood was filled with painful memories, this is where it becomes a little bit harder. But you do have to be aware of the fact that your ideal man blueprint, what is pre-installed there, is still that image. The worst thing is when women go out to date being unconscious of the fact that they have this pre-installed image of their ideal man. If you're not conscious of it, then it has power over you, and you may find yourself attracting bad guys and not know why. Because your brain keeps trying to go towards that point of reference because that's what it knows, that's what it's used to, that's what it's comfortable with. But in the end, you end up getting hurt. How you can empower yourself is to just be consciously aware of what those traits are of your ideal man blueprint. An easy way to do this is just to look at all the qualities of your father that you like, all the positive qualities, and also all the negative qualities. So on your sheet of paper, when you're listing down what your head wants, write down all the positive qualities that your father had that you liked about him, that you admired about him. Some people might be like, there's nothing I like about him. Maybe that's true, but I think most people have good and bad traits. Even if his good trait was just that he was there every weekend, or he was funny some of the time, or that one time he made you breakfast. Something good about him, you should write that down because that is important. And then you want to write down all the negative things about him that you don't like, you definitely don't like. I'll use me as an example. My father's desirable traits, he never has a bad word to say about anybody. It's no surprise then, all of my exes, all the men I've dated have been the same. They've all been nice guys and never said a bad thing about anyone. They never gossiped. And that was something I liked about them and drawn to because my father was the same. My father was also loving, intelligent, and honest. Those are good qualities that I liked about him. And of course, all my previous exes had the same. They were loving, intelligent, and honest. That's my point of reference. That's what I know. That's what I like. I'm going to be drawn to men with those qualities. Now, let's talk about my father's undesirable traits. He was very selfish. He lacks ambition, has a temper, was not affectionate at all. I'm pretty sure to this day he has never hugged me or shown any kind of loving gesture towards me in a physical way. And also lastly, and very importantly, an alcoholic. Naturally, one of my deal breakers for a guy is he can't be an addict of any sort. He can't be addicted to drugs, porn, alcohol, any addiction. I'm instantly turned off. I don't want to go anywhere near that. I've seen how ugly that gets in my father. I want to steer as far away from that as possible. So that's a deal breaker of mine. So all the traits I've listed there are things I know I don't like about my father. When I'm writing my list of what my head wants, I want to make sure they're the opposite of my father's undesirable traits. So instead of selfish, I want my partner to be generous. Okay, very generous. He also needs to be ambitious. He has to be, in general, pretty calm. He needs to have a control over his emotions because I don't like a man who can't handle his emotions, who just blows up, and also affectionate. No surprise, my husband is generous, he's ambitious, he's a very affectionate, and has control over his emotions. So those qualities I didn't just pick those randomly. Okay, I didn't just pick those because I heard someone else say that's what they wanted, and I was like, oh yeah, I want that too. Each personality trait there, I picked for a reason. And usually that's because I had a point of reference, my ideal man blueprint, that default blueprint that I could go off to say, yes, I want this, no, I don't want that, because my father was like that, for example. That's where you start. Now, as you date, as you have relationships, that list is probably going to change. It's normal if it does. There's a couple of things on here, traits on here, I have had to change over the years because as I've dated guys, I realized I didn't like that trait about them. Next time, I was going to list a different trait. Just being very deliberate, very intentional about what your head wants. Next time when you go on date, okay, he needs to have these traits, he needs to have these qualities, or it's a no. Okay, I gotta move on because he doesn't have these traits, and I picked these traits very intentionally for a reason. So if he doesn't match up here, there's just no point to even entertain going on another date with him. Provided, of course, he meets all of what your heart wants. Once again, don't forget, as you're dating and you're finding out more about your guy, your head and your heart should constantly be having conversations, having dialogue, negotiating, having discussions, because it's teamwork. It's not just the heart calling all the shots. It's also not just the head calling all the shots, because women who just use their head and ignore their heart end up in passionless marriages, passionless relationships. And those are, I think, just as bad as being in an abusive relationship, in my opinion, because if you're not super passionate and excited about your relationship, you might as well be single. I have created a free guide to go along with this video. If you want to do this exercise for yourself, I think it's very important. Then go to the link in the description below, download that free guide. Do the exercise. You're going to have a much clearer idea of who you should be going for, what your head wants, what your heart wants. So when you date, you have much more clarity. Then you can manifest your dream man 10 times faster than you ever could before. That's it from me this week. I'll talk to you soon in my next video coming up soon. Bye.